Today I'm replacing the tires on my 2008 Can-Am Outlander 400 Max XT. I chose the Sedona RipSaw RT tires. I went with the factory 25 812s in the front, and the rear I had to go 25 1012s, whereas the factory put a 25 1112. I think you're going to find that as a common issue out there. Nobody seems to make 11-inch wide in the 25 size except for Carlisle's. So I'll show you what those look like. There's not much difference, so I'm not too worried about it. But I did want to give you an idea between the factory Carlisle's and the RipSaws. Granted, I've got 4,600 miles on the Carlisle's, so they've done pretty good. The reason I had to replace them is the rear tire started breaking down in the sidewall cord. I was getting some cracks on the outside tread, and they were starting to leak, so it's time to replace them. I just kind of wanted to give an idea on the size difference or the height difference. Let me come around this way. See that a little better. So the one here on the right, that's the Carlisle. The one on the left's obviously the RipSaw. There's about a 3/4 inch difference in height. I did put some clamps on the Carlisle to kind of simulate being on a rim, so I'll give you an idea. I'm guessing they're half tread probably on the Carlisle's to the RipSaws, and there is a 3/4 inch difference in height right now, so they're probably fairly close. With the Carlisle's new, the RipSaw's new in diameter, so I know people have said they're taller, they're shorter, whatever. Hopefully this gives you an idea. One of the problems I have with this Outlander, I think a lot of people do, is the speedometer does not read correct. It reads about 2 to 3 miles an hour off, which basically almost comes out to a 10% difference in my odometer. So if my bike says it's got 5,000 miles, I can probably really knock 10% off that, and it's really got about 4,500 miles on it. I don't know if everybody's got this problem, but I've had it since day one. I've verified it on GPS, so hopefully the tires being a little taller will get my odometer back to being close. I'm going to show you the rear wheel here. Again, this is only 10 inches wide versus the 11 from the factory. You notice a little bit in the sidewall how much hangs over the rim, but there's still enough there. I'm not worried about my rim getting torn up with rocks or anything. These things definitely have a really stiff sidewall. I like that for where I'm riding. I was looking for a 6-ply tire over the 3-ply tire. You'll see one of my other videos I had to replace on a Polaris Sportsman. I went with some the Maxi Bighorn tires. Same reason, I wanted something a little stronger. These are definitely a a stiffer sidewall. You can see, I'm pushing pretty hard on that thing, and it's really not moving. And that's with about 5.5 pounds of air. This was the Polaris I had done. I can just noticeably feel the difference in that sidewall. So they're both 6-plies, but I can tell you these Sedonas are way stiffer on the sidewall. The good thing is I think the tread will actually help the softness. That's 1 1/8 inch tread, so, and it's pretty soft. It's not as soft as the Bighorns, but it moves around a lot, so I think that's gonna help keep it from being a really stiff ride. The other thing I'm doing here today is I just bought this Harbor Freight wheel balancer. So I've already balanced the tire, but I'm going to show you basically the process for doing that. It's pretty simple. You're going to take your tire, you're going to get it up here on your mounting. So what you got to do here to start with, once you take your tire off, you got to knock out this center cap on the factory rim here. You want to be careful. You take a look on the back side. There's a couple little fingers that hold this in. This wheel from the factory, this wheel's never been off the bike. It already had 2 broken clips on here, so there's not a lot of holding it on. I think I siliconed it to go ahead and hold it on there, but I'll put this thing up on the balancer, we'll check, and I've put about 5-6 miles on it since I balanced these tires. I just want to check them again. You can see the weights that I applied. This particular wheel was 3 ounces off. The other wheels I had were more like an ounce, maybe an ounce and a half. So I'm actually pretty impressed with this wheel. You know, this tire, that it, as big a lug as it is, you know, it's fairly well balanced. One of the things that wasn't done, and I'm not sure if this applies to an ATV tire or not, but I know on a car tire they'll actually mark a spot that you're supposed to line up with your valve stem, which is over here. That wasn't done on these wheels when they were mounted, so if that's what this marking is, you know, that's what I hear. That's, I guess, the recommendation. Make sure you line up those marks. That's the only marks I saw on this wheel. There were actually 2 very close. Try to get in here. It's hard to tell what they were actually for. It might just be a quality stamp. I'm not sure, but you know, I guess just in case they are marking them like a car tire, line them up with the valve stem. It might eliminate some of the weights that you need. The other thing you want to do is, if you've run your tires at all, you know, especially these, go through them, check for rocks, right? You don't want to be balancing rocks, so you have to come through here, pop them all out, clean up the wheel. You know, you want to spray it off, get it nice and clean, dry it up, especially when you go to stick these weights on. I haven't had a problem. I don't have a lot of miles on these yet, but you know, they seem to be sticking really well to the wheel. I'm not worried about them flying off or anything, but I will keep an eye on them. So let's get this thing on the balancer and see what happens. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do when you set up your balancer, I'll take this off here right quick. There is a pin that is going to be right in the middle of this balancer, and that's what it rides on. Clean that off. There was they tried to put some grease on it from Harbor Freight, but I didn't like what they had on there. It didn't seem to move real smooth. So I cleaned that off real well. That's what it rides on, the pin. I just used, I tried using some silicone spray. It worked pretty good, but it dried out too fast. So I went to some dielectric grease, you know, bulb grease type of stuff. Next, when you put it on here, you got to hit that center pin, and you'll know when you hit it because it'll float real easy here. Okay, then basically take your balancer, just kind of let it wobble around a little bit, and then you're going to check, make sure that bubble is dead center. If it's not, use these 3 screws, loosen them or tighten them, whatever you got to do to get that thing to balance up. And you're going to want to try this 4, 5, 6 times. You know, spin it around, make sure that it's coming right into where it should be. Alright, once you get your tire mounted up there, press it down. This center cone is going to center that tire. Give it a spin and check your balance. It's a little hard to see that, but it's a little heavy on one side, so we're going to try this again. I did have a little bit of a wheel shake around 45 miles an hour, so looks like this side over here needs a little bit of weight, but we're going to try that again. Yep, it's still showing this side heavy. So this is where I had my 3 ounces of weight. It looks like I might need another 1/4 to 1/2 ounce. You know, if I get too much weight on one side of the wheel, I may break the bead on this and shift the tire around. You know, I really don't want to get 4 or 5 ounces hanging off this wheel, but see, now that's showing it. Yep, still heavier right here on this side. So I think this wheel's just a little off. We'll rebalance it, and I recommend that. You know, balance it, drive it a few miles, make sure everything is still set. This thing works great. I think it cost me like, I think it was like $69. I had one of their 20% coupons off, so, you know, 55 bucks or whatever. Well worth it. Done 2 sets of quads, did a razor, probably going to do some trailer tires. I mean, it's going to pay for itself, no problem. You know, these are the weights that you pick up. I got them in different sizes. You got some 1/4 ounce ones here, and then you got your 1/2 ounce weights. So anyway, if you guys get any questions, let me know. But so far I'm pretty impressed. I like the tires. I think they got a really good look on the Outlander. They seem to drive real good. I definitely know, like I said, the sidewall, if you put this thing at an angle, you're not going to have that rollover or whatever on the, the wheel rollover on the sidewall. I mean, I've had this thing up on a 45-degree angle just on car ramps, and there was no flex at all. So some people are going to like it, some people aren't, but so far I'm liking them. I was worried about them being really rock throwers out here. I'm out in the desert, so we do a lot of rock. And I haven't noticed it so far. I think the lugs are, got enough space in between them that I'm not going to really catch a lot of the rocks and throw them, but, I'll report back if I have any of those problems. Anyway, the other thing is, why didn't I buy bighorns? Well, I like bighorns and I like the RipSaws, so, I've got the bighorns on one bike, I got the RipSaws on another. I'm going to kind of compare them and see how they do. One thing I will say is these were about 25% cheaper for the Sedonas. I think the dealer was at about 125, 130 for the bighorns. These were like 85 bucks for the fronts, and I think 105 for the rear. So added up, it's basically the cost of one tire. So that's it. Alright, here's an update. I had one tire that was going to take about 6 ounces of weight, and that's just way more than I wanted to put on the rims. So what I did, I went to my dealer. He was willing to exchange it for a different tire, and I used a little bit different process on this. I'm still kind of learning this bubble balancer and stuff, but what I did was I had him mount the tire on the rim but not set the bead. What that allowed me to do is I took it without the bead set, put it on my bubble balancer, and was able to kind of move the rim as well as the tire around until I got it really close, and then I went ahead and set the bead myself. And as you can see, this wheel here is dead on. It's not going to require any weight, and it might confirm my suspicion that maybe Sedona is marking their tires, because there is a single mark on this tire. Again, I wasn't sure if this was an inspection stamp or what that might have been, but that is lining up with the valve stem. So take a look at that when you go to mount your wheels. I guess they're like a car tire. So I didn't notice that on the other ones, but maybe that would have prevented me from having to put any weights on them as well. So anyway, looks like we're all done. This wheel doesn't take any weight, so I'll report back what I think of the RipSaws.